Okay, so Preston, Disney Plus just came out today, and with it, The Mandalorian, the newest Star Wars thing to come out in the
Yeah.
Disney era Star Wars films. And thank God we're kind of slowing down on Star Wars films. The CEO of Disney said that we're gonna kind of like slow it down and take a somewhat of a break after Episode 9, which is good. But
hmm
everybody was excited for The Mandalorian, and I was too, because originally this was supposed to be a movie by the guy who made Chronicle, and then he went on to make Fan Four Stick, and that sucked, and then they shelved
Gotcha.
the Boba Fett film, and I guess the Boba Fett film became the Mandalorian TV show, which we got last night.
Huh.
We both saw it, and we both love Star Wars. So, yeah, let's get into it. Apparently, bounty hunting is a very complicated profession. I love that tagline. That's a great tagline for this show.
So the things I liked about Mandalorian was the inner workings of the guild and what's going on that front. I mean, granted though, like I was searching for complexity. Like I wanted some more backstory. I wanted more like I wanted new stuff. I kind of felt like in my first watch that it was a lot like Rogue One in that it was throwing out stuff that you recognize just for
Mm-hmm.
the sake of throwing out stuff that you recognize. Like,
Yeah.
they knock on the door and the little eye comes out, the same eye from
The
Jabba's
the gunk
palace.
droid.
Yeah, the junk droid, an IG unit, like, yeah, like
Mm-hmm.
every little thing was like, oh, I recognize that. Oh, I recognize that. And what I wanted was new stuff, like,
Right.
and so inventing an entire guild around the Mandalorians, like that's fascinating. Like, how does it work?
The
And
bounty hunting
then
guild.
yeah, and what are these strange currencies that they got, and that metal he got from the Imperial, and who is that Imperial guy? Because the Empire is gone, and who were those stormtroopers, and stuff like that. I was more fascinated in, and then some of it was just really really slow.
Yes.
I felt the beginning was kind of slow. I felt the action sequences. I mean, I didn't get anything out of them. But then again, I'm one that really doesn't get much out of action sequences generally, so I
Mm-hmm.
don't. um, so I don't know. But it was a very slow moving episode. Not much happened. And
It wasn't
I
bad.
could,
It was just
yeah.
okay. It was fine, right?
Yeah, it was just okay. I mean, that's the thing is they didn't do anything strong enough for me to love it, but they didn't do anything strong enough for me to hate it. It just kind of almost was forgettable.
Yeah, and I think that's not what Disney is going for, because once again, Force Awakens didn't blow me out of the water. It was okay, but this
Yeah,
we're talking about Star Wars here. We're not talking about some random show that's trying to impress you and lure you in. This is not a new concept. This is Star Wars, and we expect more from a Star Wars program. And
right.
it's maybe the clout, maybe the reputation of it being Star Wars is kind of weighing it down a little bit. Maybe it's being a victim of its own hype.
One thing I was asking, I was like, what are the stakes? What am I supposed to care about? So normally in a Star Wars story, we're talking about the fate of an entire planet. Planets are getting invaded or blown up, or everything's on the line in Star Wars. So it's all supposed to be at the edge of your seat. And granted, we can roll our eyes that they do that too much, but I do wonder, like, what are the stakes
Yeah, they didn't
of
make that
this?
clear. Excuse
Why
me.
why should I care about this bounty hunter, whose face I don't even see? So it's hard for me to connect to him.
I actually
Like I
don't think we're
under
going to ever see his face in the whole show. I think that's the gimmick here. We're never going to see his face, which at the same time, what's the point in having Pedro Pascal play him? Because
Right. Why have Oberyn there? Who's
yeah.
Oberyn? Who's like Pedro Pascal is one of the most likable, charismatic actors like out
Yes.
there.
Hmm.
Why have him just doing the voice of the Mandalorian? If why even cast him? Cast Paul Giovanni or somebody. It doesn't matter. Like why? Like there's a specific reason you cast Pedro Pascal. Like that we all know his role. But yeah, he was just. I wasn't connecting because of the mask. That was tough. I wish they would have connected him to Boba Fett. somebody that we cared about. I mean, I wanted some sort of connection to the Star Wars universe that I needed to care about the Star Wars universe.
Well, supposedly, the leaks I read from months ago, they were half right. The leaks I read was that the Mandalorian was going to encounter a baby, and then, I guess, a bond will develop with the baby. Now, I heard that that part was true, but the other part wasn't true, was that the baby was supposed to be Ben Solo / Kylo Ren. That's what I heard. So I don't know if they changed it, or, because this is... Baby Yoda here, Yoda's species, which have never been revealed. The name has never been revealed. So,
right, but why should we even care about that? I mean, we've had other Yoda species. There's Yaddle, the other Yoda. Like, why should I care that somebody from Yoda's species is found as a baby?
And what's funny, too, is that two things. First thing is, I'll ask you this. Do you feel as though that this thing is going to be like a weekly thing kind of hurts it? Because we're all so used to binging the whole thing, and it feels like a show that should be binge-watched and not waited on weekly.
It does. I mean, I feel like I could have, if that was the first episode, I could have binged, 8 of them and then forgotten the whole thing. But structurally, is this different from the movie The Transporter? You've got this guy who has a job, he's normally really cold, and then all of a sudden, his job involves somebody that he's going to get attached to.
Right.
And he's going to have to betray the people that he works for.
Mm-hmm. And that's what kind of annoys me, is that this Mandalorian series is going to do that tired cliche. Shoot 'Em Up did it, where forgot the actor's name, but had a baby, he has to protect, blah blah blah. I recently saw Sicario 2, Day of the Soldado, and same thing. He was hired to kill the little girl, and then he doesn't kill the little girl. It's just a tired cliche that I was kind of not expecting from this show, but at the same time, I'm interested in seeing where it goes. But it's funny too, because the show actually felt like they filmed an entire film and they're just cutting it up. That's why there's no stakes, I feel like, because the stakes are going to come in a couple episodes later, just like it was in an actual movie. This feels like the first 20 minutes of an actual movie that they just elongated a little bit.
Right. Had the character at the end actually been someone as important as Yoda, maybe that would have been an incredible thing to pull me into the next episode. But why should I care that somebody of Yoda's species has been found? Why is that important? That doesn't pull me into the next episode. The character I liked, I liked that IG unit, and the IG unit was when that was my favorite part of the show, when that IG unit showed up. And he kept being like, I need to self-destruct. And you're like, don't self-destruct. I thought that was very funny. Mm-hmm. That character was a great character. And then they killed him off. That was sad. I don't know. I feel like there was only 5 scenes in the movie in the show. Mm-hmm. Am I forgetting? It has the opening where that annoying blue guy is getting caught.
Right.
And then they catch the blue guy, and then the blue guy gets frozen in carbonite, and we go, oh, I recognize that and all that. Mm-hmm. Then he goes to talk to Carl Weathers to get more bounties. And then he goes to somebody else to get the bounty. And then he goes back to his guild, which was fascinating stuff because they started showing some flashbacks of his childhood, which that would have been more interesting had those flashbacks been scenes of his life.
More coherent?
Right. Something where I should care about the character. Something happens to make me care about the character rather than him just being this faceless badass. There's... had that expanded more, that would have been nice. And then I wanted more about the guild and that relationship. When they melded that piece of armor for his arm and everything, that was all fascinating because it was new. And then he goes out and then he goes to that planet and he meets one of those. I imagine, is that the same species as those little pig creatures from Cloud City?
I think so. Ugnaughts, I think.
Yeah, and then the Ugnaught wants him to ride a
blurg
creature, right? I think there's a reference to the Star Wars Holiday Special in there, where he said you guys used to ride these huge creatures,
mythosaurs,
right? And I think Boba Fett rides a mythosaur in that cartoon
Oh.
during the Star Wars Holiday Special.
Mm-hmm.
I think I think that's a reference to that. I'm not sure. And then after that, there's the IG-88. Well, it's not IG-88, but the IG unit like shootout, which was fun.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have the ending, right? Like it was that simple.
Yeah, like I said, it feels like they filmed the whole thing like a movie, like a coherent movie, and they just split the movie like in bits and pieces to make several episodes. Because you're right, there are no stakes here. And you do get bits and pieces of things that you're supposed to kind of piece together. For example, in the new canon, in episode 4, when they go into the cantina, the bartender goes, "Hey, you! No droids! You're droids. They'll have to wait outside."
Right.
In the new canon, that barkeeper, his parents, I guess, or his family was killed by droids, so he's very prejudiced against droids. So I'm assuming the Mandalorian here, Pedro Pascal, when he goes, "No droids," to the fucking, like, the little mosquito-looking alien thing, I'm assuming, you know, he's old enough to have been impacted by the Clone Wars, where the battle droids were terrorizing everybody, so I'm assuming he, you know, that's where that flashback was. I'm assuming...
Right, but you know, we live in this world where everyone remembers the battle droids from Phantom Menace, but everyone forgets that the Jedi existed and that the Force was a thing. This weird selective memory of people in the Star Wars universe.
Well, and what else? I mean, you remember the original old EU canon, which is now called Legends, where after the Emperor dies, a bunch of warlords pop up. I'm assuming this guy is a warlord, the guy that wants the baby, and he has this doctor here. So Yoda's species...
I see. He's like a Admiral Thrawn kind of character.
I wouldn't go at Admiral Thrawn, because looking at his stormtroopers, they're all like beat up and stuff. But
right, I'm just saying Admiral Thrawn had more than anybody else. He was like the biggest warlord. Though I think I just know Admiral Thrawn from the original Zahn trilogy, but I think they've redone Thrawn a million times now.
They've redone Thrawn.
I think he has several continuities to Thrawn.
Yeah. Well, there's one now, and it's just a whole thing. And I feel like this show was kind of made for people who are just fans of Star Wars already. Like, this is not for newcomers. It's really not. It is not friendly to newcomers at all, because I've been keeping up with Star Wars, the Clone Wars television show from Cartoon Network, the Rebels series from Disney Channel, and I kind of know the state of Mandalore now, kinda. It's a little, like, up in the air, but I do know that, you know, Mandalore was peaceful during the Clone Wars, and, like, some stuff happened, and then during the Empire kind of had its grips on Mandalore. Now, after the Empire has been, you know, dealt with, I don't know. And because there's a moment where he goes into like this little secret hideout with other Mandalorians there. Everybody has the helmet.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And apparently that little piece of like metal that the Imperial Admiral Warlord guy gives him is like, it's almost like a video game. He takes it, he brings it to the armorer, and she makes a pauldron for him, and he attaches it to his thing. I like that.
If you look at when he did that, the first thing I thought of was the differences between Jango Fett's armor and Boba Fett's armor. So Jango Fett has like a full suit of armor, while if you look at Boba Fett, he has a helmet, but like once you kind of go lower onto his body, he's just wearing pants and shoes.
Really? I actually never noticed that.
Yeah, no. Sometime go back and like look at Jango Fett's like outfit versus Boba Fett's. Boba Fett's, I mean, granted, the movies were made at completely different eras and they had different budgets, but like Boba Fett's armor is piecemeal. It's much more weathered, while Jango Fett's is like complete and more brand spanking new. Now, it might be that Boba Fett just never got the same sort of honors from his Mandalorian cult or what a Mandalorian guild that Jango Fett did. You know, so I don't know. But I mean, I understand that there's an entire Boba Fett backstory established in Star Wars Rebels, right? About him like wanting to kill Mace Windu and... Oh,
in the Clone Wars, yeah.
In the Clone Wars, yeah, I'm sorry. And that, you know, they explain where he gets his helmet and things like that. This switches my idea. I thought the Mandalorians were like a race of people, and now it looks like the Mandalorians are a bounty hunter guild.
Well, so the Mandalorians in the original, in Clone Wars, we get to the idea that they're like Spartans in a sense. You know, they're an entire planet race of people that just live to like, you know, fight and just fuck everybody up. But in the Clone Wars, apparently Obi-Wan Kenobi's girlfriend or ex-girlfriend, she was a Mandalorian and she was trying to steer Mandalore into more peaceful transition, more peaceful people. And there were like, you know, there were Mandalorians who were not like that, and they were like in a civil war, kind of a clash. And in Rebels, which is the sequel to Clone Wars, which takes place a couple years before New Hope, Mandalore is, you know, taken in by the Empire, and the Empire controls several of the clans, and now one of the main characters, she's a Mandalorian, and she wants to free her people. So there's like this whole thing where she goes back, and she's trying to, like, you know, wage war on the Mandalorian clans that are aligned with the Empire. Now that the
Do all the Mandalorian clans wear the helmets?
Yes. And now that the Mandalorians don't have the Empire backing them anymore, I just wonder what the state of Mandalore is, because these guys appear to be like their own like tribe elsewhere on this planet, and like they have their own thing. So why aren't they at Mandalore? Like, what's going on over there? So there's a lot of really to kind of like I almost don't want them to do what like JJ did with Force Awakens, where almost nothing is explained about the state of the galaxy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah.
I hate that. Because that's the one thing Episode 1 did good, which is, you know, tell you, like, what the state of the galaxy is in the prequels. You know, there's a Senate, there's, you know, there's government, there's politics, blah, 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 blah. Things are slow, you know, there's bureaucracy. It's kind of annoying, but it sets the stage for how the galaxy is. Here, it's just, I don't know. You kind of get the feel of it, too, when he's being paid, and he goes, nah, that's Imperial credits. Empire's done for. Well, I can give you some Mon Calamari credits. Like, okay, I'll take that, I guess.
yeah. It takes half the bounty.
Yeah. Right? And it's funny, too, because have you ever heard of the video game Halo?
Yes.
In Halo, Master Chief always wears the helmet, too. And everybody's always been wanting like a Halo movie. But I think the Halo movie would have the same problem the Mandalore has now, because he's always wearing the helmet, you can't really connect with that character.
No, not at all.
It's almost like, remember, Red Letter Media makes fun of this entirely. That scene in Rogue One where Vader comes out of nowhere and starts slashing the rebel troops. Like, that's like a fuck yeah moment. And I feel like a lot of the Mandalorian was made for people like that, who like that type of stuff, you know? Yeah,
I mean, that's the thing, it's set up that for each scene to have some fanboy to be like, oh my god, it's a Yoda species. Oh my god, it's an IG unit. Oh my god, it's the pig people from Cloud City. Oh my god, it's that thing that comes out of the wall that's an eye. Oh my god, they're stormtroopers. You know, like every scene was just like so much, I call it continuity porn.
Yeah.
Just like porn, like just throwing it out. Like what did Mandalorian by itself, like what did it establish? Like, say you made this a completely different universe. Say you swapped everything. That this, you know, you turned on the Sci-Fi Channel and these are completely different suits and completely different aliens and had nothing to do with the Star Wars universe. If you were watching it, would you care?
Not really.
That's the thing is and this is a huge point. People have said this about sci-fi and why so much sci-fi fails is people forget that sci-fi isn't the plot. Sci-fi is the setting.
Yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And it's the greater thing. Like, they're forgetting Star Wars isn't the plot. Star Wars is the setting. What's the plot? Well, the plot is about some dude who wants to go on a bounty, and he is having a tough time, and then he accepts one, and then he finds an alien. Like, he finds a baby. That's it.
Well, once again, from what I gather, like he's a part of this clan, and he's making money specifically for that clan to help that clan thrive. Right. But
I mean, that clan. That's what I said. Like, the one scene that was good for me. I'll say I enjoyed two scenes. I enjoyed where he goes back to his guild and he has his flashbacks and they're doing this strange ceremony. I thought that was fascinating stuff. I want to know more about what's going on there. Mm-hmm. I want to know more about his backstory. I want to know more about his guild. And I thought the IG IG-88 shootout was really fun. I thought that was really well done. I think if he had a little more stress and it was a little more ridiculous, I think it would have, gone even better. But I thought that was a really great scene.
What was kind of annoying me was, like, every time he got shot, it didn't really hurt him that much. I guess maybe that's his armor.
Yeah.
But everybody gets shot and they fucking fall down immediately. And the IG-88
There was
gets
too
shot.
many people.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was too many. Had it been 12 guys instead of 182 guys, it would have been a better scene.
Yeah.
Like if he would have sat there and said, "Okay, I've got to take out 12," because in the beginning he's like counting men with his telescope, and I'm like, "Oh, okay, this is fun," and then he's about to go down, and then the IG-88 unit comes in and like ruins it, and that was fun as hell. Like, I think they could have built that up more. Like he establishes a plan. He's about to do the plan, and then the IG-88 unit like just messes it up. I thought that would have been great. But then he goes down there, and it's not like 8 guys; it's 1,000,000 guys, and they're just blowing everybody up and it's just body armor right and left. I was like, God, they ruined that. But it was overall that was a great scene.
It was.
Those are the two scenes. They had this cool fight scene, which too bad that unit dies because that unit was hilarious, and this one little, and what's funny is it's probably like them writing going, oh, this is the most boring scene about a guy sitting in a temple, like melting down some metal, and that's the most fascinating scene to me. Well, him getting attacked by a creature under the ice or riding CGI creatures, or fighting in a bar, I didn't care about.
I have spoken. I like that.
What the hell was I have spoken guy? Who cares about that guy? I want to give you money. I will not accept your money. Why? Because I'm a dumbass.
Like I said, the episode was just fine, but this is Star Wars, and we're expecting... like for example, 2 days before it came out, I kept reading reviews like people were saying, this is the best Star Wars since the first one. Okay, now you're overhyping it, and if it's not as great as A New Hope, which is my favorite, then I'm just going to be kind of disappointed. And it's not that I'm disappointed, it's just that it was okay. Would I say it was a little forgettable? Yeah. Like they were propping up the twist at the end. I'm like, oh, okay. But why though? Like why is that species important? Why does that Imperial guy want that species? Is he trying to re-engineer the Force so he has it? Maybe because I still don't know to the extent of how many Imperials knew that the Emperor was a Force-sensitive user. So are they trying to get a new Emperor? Like what are they really doing with that? Yeah. How does this fit into continuity? Because at this point in continuity, there's actually an admiral in Star Wars Aftermath named Gallius Rax who's gathering up Imperial soldiers to get ready for the Battle of Jakku. Because there's something going on at Jakku that he needs to prepare for. So why is this warlord not a part of that? And we're supposed to get another Imperial guy played by the bad guy Gus in Breaking Bad. I forgot his name, the actor's name, but he's supposed to come in as well.
It's Carmine. It's really Carmine.
He's supposed to come in as well, and it was okay. On a scale from 1 to 10, I would give it a 7. It was okay. I was expecting something like a 9, something to blow me away, but I would give it a 7. You?
I would go middle of the road. I would give it a flat 5.
Really?
And say it wasn't good. It wasn't good. It wasn't bad. It was forgettable in between. It had moments that I really liked, but if it were not Star Wars, it would just be so forgettable.
Right.
I just wanted something. I wanted some sort of stakes.
I gotta say though, for a Star Wars TV show, I wasn't expecting a lot of good CGI, but the CGI was very okay. It was very passable.
CGI was great. It was fine. It was good enough.
Yeah, it was good enough.
I didn't care. I guess starting off, I was really quite annoyed at the blue alien. I didn't like the actor playing that, and
everybody was hating on him.
And it's just like, well, he disappears, and it's like good, so he's not in it. But I don't know. Yeah, I mean, he seemed anachronistic, which is odd, considering it's a galaxy far, far away. But like for some reason, I'm still expecting everyone in the Star Wars universe to be, besides Luke, Han, and Leia, to be British.
Right.
I that's just what I expect. I don't know.
Well, the world feels lived in, which is fine. It feels lived in. The one thing that kind of concerns me is that opening scene when he goes into the bar and those guys pick a fight with him, and the scene where he the alien is running away and he grabs the alien, pulls him back to the door, and the door slices the alien. Yeah. That has been in all the promotions everywhere, and I'm a little worried. Were they showing that in the promotions because that's the only really cool scene so far in the entire show? Or are they just trying to hype you up with one of the best scenes of the show? Because so far that's one of my favorite scenes.
And I'll say, the cinematography is great. The atmosphere of the show is great. They got all that right. But, if you compare it to a show like Breaking Bad, where you finish an episode of Breaking Bad and you just feel like the stakes are getting higher, the character's, he's dying of cancer. He needs to bake meth. Okay, let's get to the next episode, and you have these incredibly likable characters like Jesse or whatever that pull you in. And it's okay, on a fundamental level, when you have a story, you need to have a likable protagonist. Do you like the protagonist? I mean, he was established as a badass in the first scene.
Yeah, but do you really like him? You can't really see his face, so you can't really see his emotions. That's the problem I was going to have with the Master Chief movie. You can't really see the Master Chief's emotions, so every character around him kind of has to pull that emotional weight.
Yeah.
So.
Or he has to have a super expressive voice or body language or something. There has to be something. He has to be a human being that I can connect to. So on that fundamental level, it fails. I didn't connect with the Mandalorian. I don't is he supposed to be? Because they establish him as this cruel guy who doesn't care, and then all of a sudden he's supposed to care about a baby at the end.
Yeah,
I don't know. And I keep thinking it is the plot of the Transporter, and it's not like Jason Statham is a great actor, but you get to see his face and you go, oh, okay, I like Jason Statham. Okay, I'll keep watching this horrible movie.
But that's the running gag, though, right? The Mandalorians never take their helmet off. That Boba Fett never took his helmet off. Wasn't there an old EU canon book where Dengar rescues Boba from the Sarlacc pit and he goes, hey, I want you to be the best man at my wedding. And doesn't Boba Fett go to the wedding where he's in a suit and tie, but he still has the fucking helmet on? Isn't that a
thing? You see, had they made it something else, okay, imagine if you redid the episode and I'm thinking of crazy ideas, okay? His hit is someone inside the Sarlacc pit. He's why do I have to kill somebody inside the Sarlacc pit? Or or you have to retrieve somebody from the Sarlacc pit.
That would be fun. That would be very fun.
Right?
Wow, okay.
And it's say it's the other guy that fell in with how there's two guys fell in with Boba Fett. Say somebody wants to retrieve that guy and they're well, we want him alive. And he's alive? He fell into the Sarlacc.
Well, it takes 1,000 years for your body to decompose.
Right. Yeah. Imagine if that was the plot and he had to go and open up the Sarlacc pit and I don't know. He runs into the remnants of Jabba's gang or whatever.
They started a new gang in the Sarlacc pit.
Yeah, not everybody went on the barge, on the party
right.
barge. I mean, a few janitors were left over or something, or whoever fills the power vacuum. Jabba the Hutt's cousin.
Right.
In the books, I think Zorba the Hutt, his dad, comes in and fills the vacuum.
That actually makes a lot of sense because if you think about it, Jabba died on the barge. So what about his palace? What's going on there?
Someone. I mean, I didn't see everybody die in the palace. I mean, I think Rancor. Did I see Rancor Keeper Was Rancor Keeper on the? I mean, he was still probably really sad about Rancor,
The
about
Rancor
the Rancor
Keeper.
monster dying. So the
He takes over as the new boss.
well, first of all, like everyone knows, like this is the funny thing is like everyone knows like he's got like a bit part of the entire movie, but everyone knows the action figure for Rancor Keeper.
Rancor Keeper.
I think everybody had a Rancor Keeper because he was like the cheapest. Like all the other ones are sold out, so everyone ends up with a Rancor Keeper and a Clay 2 in battle armor, and those are like your two Star Wars toys.
It's funny too because this is Red Letter Media's problem with Star Wars right now is that you have an entire galaxy to work with and all these fun ideas like, you know, retrieving someone inside the Sarlacc pit like you just said, and they never do anything fun with it. They never do like Red Letter Media's whole idea for like the heist in Rogue One was to have them like put like some kind of weird like contraption on their neck and like they activate it and like their face kind of like as a hologram becomes Tarkin. So, like, they, you know, like, they walk in as Tarkin, hey, guys, what's up? And they're kind of malfunctioning, so they have to, like, nothing. Like, you know, fun things like that, but it's they never seem to manage to get there. But once again, this is not for newcomers. If you've kind of seen Star Wars and you're not a good diehard fan, then you're probably not going to enjoy it. If you're a casual Star Wars fan, will you enjoy this? I don't know. I feel like this was made for diehards.
Well, it's a weird thing, right? It's made for diehards who will recognize all of the porn, and then at the same time, it doesn't advance any Star Wars plot. Like it's nothing relevant. So I don't know.
Would you have liked it if in the leaks it was Ben Solo instead of like a Yoda species baby?
I think I probably would have. Because like I say, I just needed stakes. I needed something where I go, oh, I need to watch the next episode.
But then everybody would complain because everything is fucking interconnected. Like, you know, they can never... It was not the complaint that Darth Vader has to show up every other Tuesday to, you know, like, connect it. You know, it's never its own standalone thing. This is trying to be its own standalone thing. Yeah, it has TIE fighters and stormtroopers, but there's no Luke, Leia, Han, there's no Vader, there's no, you know, Boba Fett. So it's its own standalone thing.
Right, I would still say, you know, what are the stakes?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it wasn't even a human baby. It was a CGI baby. You know, am I supposed to connect to it and go, oh, a CGI baby? How dare somebody think about killing that? I don't know. See, now that we talk about it and pick it apart, I'm like, oh God. It's not that great.
I wanted to give it a 6, but I wasn't bored. It was fine. It was a bit above average.
Yeah, but I wasn't bored. I wasn't bored only because I'm a Star Wars fan. You know, had I not been a Star Wars fan, none of it would have been interesting.
That's true.
I don't know. See, that would have been a plot. You have to retrieve somebody from the Sarlacc pit. Somebody that so Jabba must regularly throw people into the Sarlacc pit. So people must be in there. So what if one of his bounties was to get somebody out of that pit, and then he's got to go down there, and he runs into Boba Fett too, and he's another Mandalorian. Oh man.
Or maybe he goes in the Sarlacc pit and he notices the Boba Fett armor, but Boba Fett's not there, deepening the mystery of where the hell is Boba Fett. Oh
God. See, we've got a franchise. Could you imagine? He goes down to the Sarlacc pit and he sees Boba Fett's armor. He's like tied to the wall or whatever in like ropes and tentacles. And he goes over and he like opens the mask and it's empty. And he's like, what? And then it's like, dun, 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 end of episode.
See, this is what Game of Thrones is good at. I hate to like bring Thrones into this, but like this is what Thrones is good at. Every episode of season 1, with the exception of maybe 2 episodes, ends on an amazing cliffhanger.
Yeah.
Every episode, even in later on, The Walking Dead is also pretty good at doing this. A lot of shows are pretty good at like, you know, ending on like, whoa, I gotta see the next episode. This, you're just like, oh, Baby Yoda species, okay. Cool.
Yeah, there's a lot of so I used to watch Angel and I was watching the behind the scenes for the later seasons because it started getting to the point where everything was a cliffhanger and it became a joke, and even the series itself ends on a cliffhanger because it's just fitting. But they were talking about how the structure of their story was changing from an Act 1, Act 2, Act 3 to an Act 2, Act 3, Act I'm sorry, from an Act 3, Act 1, Act 2. Because you'd need to resolve the previous episode. So you'd have your Act 3 as the first part of the episode, and then you'd have your Act 1, Act 2, and you'd end everything on a cliffhanger. And so it was interesting, that structure, watching each episode, being like, oh, like, it's, I wanted some sort of surprise with The Mandalorian. But, I mean, that was the first episode, right? This is supposed to pull you in.
Yeah. Yeah, there's no, like... Yeah, it was okay, but this is Star Wars.
What were they thinking? I understand it was supposedly written by Happy
Hogan from Iron Man.
Happy Hogan, yeah,
Jon Favreau.
It's written by Happy Hogan. I get it, but like really sitting down, like when somebody's sitting there writing the scene between the Mandalorian and the Pig Boy, like why would anyone want to watch that?
In hindsight, they really should have released the first 3 episodes, or at least one more to like really hook you in.
Yeah, I don't feel hooked.
That's the issue. All right, well, I would give it a 7, slightly above average. It barely gets a 7, but visuals were fine. The music was kind of forgettable. Like, that's the one thing about Star Wars, that even the sequel series, even the sequel trilogy has like good music. This one, the music was not that great. Visuals were okay. They were fine. Some fun scenes here and there. It deepens the mystery just a tad. But overall, yeah, you're right. If this, wasn't Star Wars, something else completely different, random sci-fi show, it would be very forgettable.
So Disney is essentially hoping that all of these people signed up for Disney Plus, and they now have The Mandalorian, and now they're like, oh crap, I paid for a month. I guess I'm gonna have to watch. I guess I'll keep it for the end of November. Is that like the hope? And then maybe at the end of the 3rd or 4th episode, it'll pull you in to keep people on for the December month.
I have no idea. But what's funny too, because it is Star Wars, even if all the episodes continue on track like this one, I'm still gonna watch it, hoping it's gonna be better, because I'm a Star Wars fan. I'm very sadistic that way. But fuck, man, like. If
you've suffered through all of Clones and Rebels, I mean that's.
Clones were Star Wars Clone Wars was good every now and then. It had some very memorable, very insane episodes where, spoiler alert, I talked about Obi-Wan Kenobi's girlfriend earlier, Satine. She was a Mandalorian. Darth Maul comes back and straight up fucking murders her in front of him. And you're like, whoa, what? And it's just like a very brutal scene. And at one point, Palpatine comes in there, and Darth Maul has taken over Mandalore, him and his brother. And Palpatine duels the both of them at the same time, and he straight up brutally murders Darth Maul's brother and just tortures Darth Maul. It's like, oh, what? This is a kid's show? And then with Rebels, some episodes were pretty good here and there, but, yeah, it wasn't a torture as much as I thought it would be. But, no. Star Wars The Mandalorian, I would give it a 7, and it barely gets that. You would give it a 5. Understandable.
Which is almost even worse than if it was bad. Like, at least if it's bad, you can like talk about how it's bad.
Like Phantom Menace.
Yeah. Or, people remember Fantastic Four for being horrible. No one's going to remember Mandalorian. It's almost like, it's like how forgettable Rogue One is in retrospect.
Right. Well, this is just the first episode, so we can't say it's going to be forgettable, but I want to give it the 3-episode try before I give up on it completely. Yeah. But they really should have released the first 3 episodes. Like, I don't understand who saw the first episode and thought, this is okay by itself. They'll wait for the next episode. They really should have released at least 2 or 3 episodes at launch to hook you in.
But compare it to Thrones, though. Like, the first episode of Thrones, you find out zombies exist. You find out that that there's like Ned's best friend was murdered, and there's a big conspiracy, and you find out that the queen is having sex with her brother, and Bran falls from a tower, all in the first episode. A lot of stuff happens where you're like, oh my god. Like, did that kid get murdered? Like, you want to watch the next episode for so many reasons.
And then the next episode ends with Bran opening his eyes.
Yeah, well, I would have pulled that a little later, but It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. But I understand. But the first episode is done very well. I mean, it was the second time they did it, so they better get it right the second time. But yeah, you want that episode to pull people in. I don't know.
Well, guys, thank you so much for joining us for the Mandalorian podcast discussion. Thank you. We will see you next week for episode 2 of The Mandalorian, hopefully where things get a bit more interesting and explained. Preston, thank you so much for joining us. And
Anytime.
guys, thank you so much. We'll see you all next time. Have a good one.